Ladies and gentlemen, here's Big Mo with the particulars
of the evening, scheduled for 12 3-minute rounds in the Cruiserweight division. This bout is brought to you by our official partners, Bet365, K4 Global, Everlast, Village Hotels, Wow Hydrate, and FCI Markets. Our board representative in charge, Robert Smith. Our timekeeper, Jason Booth. Our judges at ringside, Marcus McDonald, Bob Williams, and Kevin Parker. This bout is presented by Boxer, promoted by Ben Shalom, live on Sky Sports. So, Bournemouth, I need you all to get up out of your seats, raise your drinks high, and get wild! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. He stands 6 feet 1.5 inches tall. He weighed in at 14 stone, 1 pound. He holds a professional record of 14 victories versus just 2 defeats, with 7 of those wins coming by way of knockout. And he fights out of Nuremberg, Germany, by way of Prizren, Kosovo. Introducing Armend, the Bombardier Xhoxhaj. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the black trunks with gold and red trim. He stands 6 feet 3 inches tall. He weighed in at 14 stone, 3 pounds. He comes to us with a professional record of 16 victories versus just 1 loss, with 11 of those wins coming by way of knockout. And he fights right here in Bournemouth, England. Introducing the former British and European Cruiserweight Champion and the current reigning Commonwealth Champion. He is the gentleman, Chris Billam-Smith. Our referee in charge, Kieran McCann.
So Kieran McCann brings both boxers to centre ring.
I spoke to you both in the dressing room. You know what I expect. Keep the fight clean, obey my commands, and most importantly, protect yourself at all times. Shake hands.
Not much eye contact exchanged between the two boxers during those final instructions from referee Kieran McCann. But what was apparent was the towering height advantage enjoyed by Chris Billam-Smith. The winner of this fight putting themselves firmly in contention for a world title shot. And we are underway, the first of a scheduled 12 3-minute rounds in the Cruiserweight division between the hometown boxer Chris the Gentleman Billam-Smith, wearing black trunks trimmed with gold and black gloves. Man wearing gold trunks and white gloves and white boots is the shorter Armend Xhoxhaj. He started aggressively, backing up Billam-Smith to the ropes just above our commentary position and scoring with a right hook to the body, doubling up with a left hook to the body and then head. Both men operating out of the orthodox stance, and Chris Billam-Smith finding himself pinned in the neutral corner right next to our commentary position. Tried to extend a left jab, then turned a double left hook underneath into the solar plexus of Xhoxhaj. But Xhoxhaj crowding his man, getting up close, getting his head beneath Chris Billam-Smith's chin and bustling away with punches to the body. Now the action is in the space of centre ring. Referee Kieran McCann allowing the two boxers to work away, despite Chris Billam-Smith tucking the left arm of Xhoxhaj beneath his right arm while digging away with his left. We're just on the edge of range, exchange of jabs. Chris Billam-Smith trebled up his left jab and scored with it. Xhoxhaj comes back with a jab of his own. Right hand lead over the top from Chris Billam-Smith, countered by a right hand from Xhoxhaj, whose the left hand side of his face is already reddening. Armend Xhoxhaj in the first half of this opening round is now Chris Billam-Smith establishing the distance. There's a discernible gap between the two of them, and he's picked off his man with another rapier-like long lead left hand. There he tried to bring a right hook around the corner, but Xhoxhaj was able to avoid it by applying good head movement. And the left eye of Xhoxhaj is reddening, taking on the tint of a tomato in the first half of this opening round because of the accurate punch picking of Chris Billam-Smith with principally that lead left hand. There he scores with the same shot once again. Xhoxhaj crouches down and scores with a good shot to the body. It was a straight shot. Now uppercut being brought into play by Billam-Smith, and that's such a potent weapon against a more compact opponent who's coming in with his head down. Chris Billam-Smith backing up voluntarily towards the blue corner on this near side of the ring. An uppercut dug in by Armend Xhoxhaj. Referee Kieran McCann just separated the two. Now Chris Billam-Smith long bridging his man, holding out the left hand to keep Xhoxhaj at bay before coming back with a left-right combination, but it was countered by that quick right hand that we pointed out before the opening bell. Cracking left hook was the final shot of that exchange between Chris Billam-Smith and Armend Xhoxhaj. 30 seconds to go in this opening round. The action is at centre ring. Jab to the body was short from Xhoxhaj. Chris Billam-Smith with his right hand beneath his cheek fires a right hand lead while his left hand was by his pec, and he didn't find the range with it. Xhoxhaj being warned about rabbit punching, the punch straight to the rear of Chris Billam-Smith's head. There, the 10-second clapper sounds of what has been a frenetic opening round between these 200-pound cruiserweights. A strong start from Xhoxhaj. Chris Billam-Smith getting his composure. Steve Bunch, your thoughts on that first 3 minutes?
Well, I think you got it absolutely right there, Ronald. For the first 20-30 seconds, Billam-Smith was stuck in the corner here. Didn't panic, but he was stuck. Found a bit of range, landed a jab, was bringing over the right hand. Some of the big right hands were missing. Xhoxhaj was ducking underneath them. Xhoxhaj throws a really good short right hand. I know we've seen that, we've seen clips of that. But when you see it, he sets himself up to throw it. And I'm not saying he hurt Billam-Smith with it, but Billam-Smith knew he'd been caught with that short right hand jab. You know what I mean, but his little look on his face.
Yeah, most definitely. As you both said, Chris Billam-Smith started a bit slow. Xhoxhaj had him in the corner. Chris Billam-Smith established his jab. Xhoxhaj caught him with the right uppercut, right hand a few times. But a round for Chris Billam-Smith, in my opinion.
No, in the end, he wins the round comfortably. But I think we've seen the pattern here. Hard round, he wins it, but hard round.
So we go into the second round. Armend Xhoxhaj competing in just his second scheduled 12-rounder tonight for Chris Billam-Smith. This is his 7th scheduled 12-rounder. He's completed the 12-round championship course on 3 occasions, and he started brightly, digging away with the left hand to the body, then turned a left hook upstairs before dropping down beneath the right elbow of Xhoxhaj once again. But Xhoxhaj leaping with left hooks like the late, great Floyd Patterson, trying to find a home for that shot. And the two men head-to-head, nice right uppercut followed by a right hook on the inside from Xhoxhaj. And we mentioned the towering height and reach advantage that Chris Billam-Smith enjoys, but he just scored by unfurling 2 ferocious right uppercuts that jolt the head back of Xhoxhaj. Still good left hand dug into the body of Xhoxhaj from Chris Billam-Smith. And perhaps, here in this second round, Chris Billam-Smith just looking to establish his dominance in every facet of the game, because he's not using his advantages of height and range and reach as he's hit by a right hand that dipped his knees, and it brought a wry smile to his face. I was about to suggest that Chris Billam-Smith is looking to dominate Xhoxhaj at his own game at short and mid-range, but he was caught by a roundhouse right that visibly dipped his knees, and now Chris Billam-Smith pinned to the ropes on the far side of the ring, edging towards his right, towards his own red corner on the far side of the ropes arena. He's now edging back incrementally towards center ring, as Xhoxhaj with a big fake with his feet, but didn't pull the trigger. Fires a left hook which lands on the sternum of Chris Billam-Smith. Chris Billam-Smith moving in a clockwise direction, avoided an overhand right that came in from Armend Xhoxhaj. But this a terrific portion of the round, and how badly shaken up was Chris Billam-Smith by that right hand that caught him flush on his prominent left cheekbone. Now he's getting back to work with a double jab and brings a right hook into play. Terrifically educated left hook underneath, but then he's caught by the same right hand once again. Chris Billam-Smith, the left side of his face reddened now, and he's breathing through an open mouth, puffing his cheeks like a set of bellows, as Armend Xhoxhaj looking to apply the pressure once more with his presence, backing up Chris Billam-Smith towards his own red corner. Chris Billam-Smith momentarily put Xhoxhaj in a headlock and then dug away with a free right hand. Xhoxhaj turns a right uppercut underneath, and it's notable that Chris Billam-Smith is initiating a clinch and walking back Armend Xhoxhaj to this neutral corner on the near side of the ring. Final 30 seconds of this second round, and it's been a very good second round for Xhoxhaj. Chris Billam-Smith still in there competing. He's physical once again as the two men are leaning on shoulder to shoulder. But it's Xhoxhaj pulling the trigger first. Roundhouse right, followed by a right uppercut, jolting the head back of Chris Billam-Smith. Then he's caught by a cuffing left hook, and then a cluster of bent arm punches from both flanks being fired in by Armend Xhoxhaj. Terrific second round for the Kosovan based in Germany. Chris Billam-Smith breathing through a mouth that is open, backing up towards the blue corner, tries a sneaky right hand off the ropes and has the final word after catapulting a left hook off the strand. Steve Bunce, your thoughts on what was a big second round for Xhoxhaj?
That was a very, very bad start there by Chris Billam-Smith. Hurt, massively hurt by that right hand. I don't think he actually fully recovered. We said he was dangerous, we weren't hyping it. We said, why take this guy? We weren't hyping it. Chev, he was hurt. He was badly hurt there.
Yeah, he was hurt, and I'm surprised Xhoxhaj didn't follow up. He let him get off a bit, and you know, later in the round, Xhoxhaj had more success with the right uppercut and the right hook. Caught him a couple times.
He's relaxed. He's enjoying it, Xhoxhaj. He's enjoying it. However, Shane McGuigan a couple of weeks ago saved Daniel Dubois, the heavyweights, light boxing career. Daniel Dubois over 3 times in the first round. Shane calmed him down in the corner, came back to stop. Same again, please, Shane. Same again.
Josh Pritchard, Shane McGuigan, and Ian Jumbo Johnson in the corner of Chris Billam-Smith. Has the 60-second interval been enough to recover? And the manner in which Chris Billam-Smith has come out suggests that he has been, because he marched across the centre ring, landed a left jab and right cross, but Xhoxhaj has taken the shot and is now bulldozing Chris Billam-Smith back towards the ropes on the far side of the ring. It's about figure 12 on the clock face as Billam-Smith tries to get out of there, but he's driven backwards by a right hook to the head, left hook to the body, and Chris Billam-Smith fighting back furiously off the ropes, but they're all bent arm shots, and so his greater reach and range and length is not proving to be an advantage here, because by landing shots with the bent arm, it's keeping Xhoxhaj within his wheelhouse and within his punching range. Now the action is at centre ring. Xhoxhaj scores with a left jab to the sternum of Chris Billam-Smith. Chris Billam-Smith altogether more correct now. Trips out 3 left jabs in a row, followed by a left jab and a left hook. Good portion of the round for Billam-Smith, and it's interesting that he's doing it with his educated, classy boxing skills that Siobhan Clark was ruminating on before the opening bell. When it's a marauding, brawling contest, Xhoxhaj is in this every inch of the way. But Chris Billam-Smith retreating counterclockwise to his right before changing direction, lands a beautiful left jab and uppercut beneath the short ribs on the left flank of Xhoxhaj. And now Xhoxhaj having trouble keeping the lateral movement of Chris Billam-Smith at bay, because he's ducking and dashing left and right. Left hook to the body, right hook to the head, left hook to the head. Beautiful left jab by Chris Billam-Smith. And what is notable from our ringside commentary position here at the Bournemouth International Centre is the gap that exists between the two men. You could drive a bus in between them, and when there's this type of distance between the two, the silky boxing skills, as evidenced by that left jab of Chris Billam-Smith, are taking over. But then letting his hands go in combination fashion was Armend Xhoxhaj as he bids to get close once again. Chris Billam-Smith still breathing through an open mouth. He said his training camp for this, unlike his bid against Isaac Chamberlain, where he had a difficult training camp, he said his training camp here has been exemplary. No injuries, excellent sparring, and his understanding wife, who had just given birth to their newborn son, allowed him to stay in a hotel and focus on being a fighter rather than a family man. Over in the action is in the neutral corner on the far side of the ring, and clever boxing off the ropes from Chris Billam-Smith, but it's the tall frame at 6'3" to be bobbing and weaving and applying the Philly shell. Now he tucks up behind high-held gloves, employing a peekaboo style, walks Xhoxhaj back across the ring and scores with a nudging right uppercut and left hook to the body. And then there's a trade-off where Billam-Smith landed a right hook and it was countered by an overhand right from Xhoxhaj. Xhoxhaj's accuracy just beginning to betray him here. His face increasingly reddening, and this has been a magnificent response as the 10-second clapper sounds from Chris Billam-Smith. And we have to emphasize once again that he has done it behind his beautifully educated boxing skills. We're going to go over to the red corner and listen to the instructions from Shane McGuigan.
Yeah, well, I know what he's telling him there. He's telling him, don't get greedy. Sure, you hit him with enough jabs and you made him miss. Don't stand and trade. You're giving everything back to Xhoxhaj. I'm telling you exactly what Shane's saying. He didn't need to do some of that trading in the last 30 seconds. He's got round 4, he's got round 5, he's got round 6, which of course is when I predicted the fight would end. So please, do me a favour, give it 2 or 3 more rounds and step on the gas in the 6th round.
I totally agree. Earlier on in the round, he wasn't using his jab and he hadn't established the space. But later on, he did that and he came out looking good.
Seconds up. Round 4.
So into the 4th round we go, and referee Kieran McCann had to hold Xhoxhaj back. So keen was he to get to the prime piece of fish-stick real estate at centre ring, but now it's being occupied by Chris Billam-Smith out of a wide-legged stance, and he is pistoning out a terrific left jab. He's now turned it into a double left hook, followed by another jolting left jab once again. And it's almost as though Armend Xhoxhaj is fighting in another neighbourhood here, because such is the gap between the two. Lead left hook falls short by a mile, although Xhoxhaj has backed up Chris Billam-Smith to his own corner on the far side of the ring, the red corner. Left hand to the body, right hand to the head, landed by Xhoxhaj. Xhoxhaj continuing to let both hands go in hooks and uppercut fashion, and a right uppercut did get through. Referee Kieran McCann separates the two boxers. The action is approaching the centre of the boxing ring with both men on top of the logo now. Counter, a lead left jab from Xhoxhaj is countered by a left-right combination from Billam-Smith. They're just on the edge of punching range, and it's another lovely, educated lead left hand from Billam-Smith once again. But stepping in behind his own left jab is the shorter Armend Xhoxhaj, and he landed with it. Bent arm lead left hand lands for Chris Billam-Smith, and both boxers now bracketing their head with their hands. Left jab, right hand success for Armend Xhoxhaj, because the lead left hand of Chris Billam-Smith was held rather lazily low. He comes back with the right hand lead, which scores. Right hand to the body from Xhoxhaj, right hand over the top to the head from Billam-Smith, lead left hook from Billam-Smith, and it's again notable in this first half of round number 4 that Xhoxhaj is doing a much better job getting closer and operating at short and mid-range. Now Billam-Smith tries to establish control of the distance once again by snaking out that telescopic left hand that he possesses. Cluster of punches fall short by the final left hook from Xhoxhaj, and then a good left hook to the body and right hand over the top, and another right hand just causes Xhoxhaj to become disorganized. He pivoted off in counterclockwise fashion, and his equilibrium may well have been disrupted as he takes another right hand to the temple. He comes back with a right hook of his own, followed by a right uppercut. Now it was ridden effectively by Chris Billam-Smith, but the manner in which he rode the shot by turning away behind his right shoulder made it look as though the shot had a dramatic effect. Right uppercut, right cross lands from Chris Billam-Smith. Xhoxhaj gets back to mid-range and lands with a left hook. 30 seconds to go in this 4th round, and it's Chris Billam-Smith with his back on the ropes at the far side of the ring at figure 12 on the clock face. And while he's taking a breather, Armend Xhoxhaj was making hay. Billam-Smith gets off the ropes, but he's poked by a stiff left jab to his solar plexus. Action is at short range once again. Beautiful two-shot combination, followed by a right hook to the head. First of all, it was a left-right to the body, and another right hand to the body. Doubles over Armend Xhoxhaj, and he is keen to initiate a clinch. Action is near the red corner on the far side of the ring. 10-second clapper has sounded. Xhoxhaj comes in and lands with a right-hand lead, countered by a right hook immediately from Chris Billam-Smith. And this contest exploding into life with some terrific two-way action.
A proper round, a proper slugfest, a proper hard round. Both had chance, both had moments in control. Xhoxhaj brilliant at the start of the round with a jab moving his head, dropping the right hand in. Billam-Smith looked ragged there, Ronald, and I think you might be giving him the benefit of the doubt when you said he looked like, it made it look awkward. He might have been clipped on the top of the head by that right hand.
I think he was clipped on the top of the head. And look, what it is, when Chris Billam-Smith gets behind his jab, wide stance, he looks amazing. But then when Xhoxhaj moves his head and gets in, it's a problem. And I think Chris Billam-Smith's got a cut right now from that huge shot.
From the left side, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of blood on top of his nose. Let me tell you something, we're going into round 5 here. We've got a real fight on the hand. And just to say that Ben Shalom was up there. He's got a big date down here in May, lined up. That at the moment is even at best.
Round 5.
So we go into round 5. And again, we mentioned in our opening who will be able to box to order. Action is in the middle of the boxing ring, and the first man to pull the trigger is Armend Xhoxhaj. But just as he did in round number 2 after his rather slow start, Chris Billam-Smith looking to maintain the gap between himself and his opponent, and lances out a long left jab to the body, turned into a long left jab to the head. And when, there it is again, jolting the head back of Xhoxhaj. And it's notable when Xhoxhaj trying to counter with his own single jab, when Billam-Smith lands his, Xhoxhaj is nowhere near. He's flailing at the stadium air here as he's driven back by a terrific lead left hand once again. It caused Xhoxhaj to lose his boxing stance and sent him tottering backwards 2 steps. But now Xhoxhaj, continuing his forward foray, just has Chris Billam-Smith near the neutral corner on the far side of the ring, and now he's looking to pin Chris Billam-Smith on the ropes on the far side of the ring. Single left hook to the body is a beautifully picked shot. Here's the same shot again from Billam-Smith. Then he turns the right hand into the liver of Armend Xhoxhaj. Armend Xhoxhaj bouncing on his toes, but as he went to wind up with a left hook, he was picked off by a short, crisp right hook from Chris Billam-Smith, who is boxing beautifully in the first minute and 10 seconds of this 5th round. And again, it's when he's able to maintain the gap that he is demonstrating that he's the governor. Featherlight right hand was a scoring shot. It was a reverse 1-2 because the left jab came behind it from Billam-Smith. Billam-Smith moving clockwise to his left, caught by a right hand lead because his feet were incredibly slow. There he sinks a good left hand just above the belt line, brings a right uppercut into the play, and it causes Xhoxhaj to back up. And I think the nose of Xhoxhaj may well have been damaged. Oh, and there's another right uppercut, left hook, and then a left hook and a right hook, and a beautiful right hook from Chris Billam-Smith has completely wiped out the punch resistance of Armend Xhoxhaj. He wilted slowly to the canvas like a balloon losing air, and as soon as he hit the deck, without breaking the fall with his hands, referee Kieran McCann was in position and called this fight off immediately. Chris Billam-Smith comes through a firefight against the incredibly courageous and game Armend Xhoxhaj, but the finish that he produced was world-class. Terrific combination punching, punctuated by a sweetly delivered right uppercut that just knocked all of the stuffing and punch resistance out of Armend Xhoxhaj. He falls flat on his back, and Chris Billam-Smith, in classy fashion, befitting his nickname, the Gentleman, is just asking the home fans to hold down their celebrations because Armend Xhoxhaj is being tended to by the British Boxing Board of Control medical staff here. But make no mistake, Chris Billam-Smith with an emphatic, absolutely world-class finish to take out Armend Xhoxhaj. Chris Billam-Smith continues his magnificent run of momentum, improving to 16-1 with 12 KOs, and what a KO.
What a KO. Found a shot, found a body shot, good body shot, found a head shot, then let 3 or 4 go. And it was one of those where he catches him as he goes down. Oh, it's like an old school knockout. You know what I mean by that, Ronald? You see knockouts like that, the stuff that we love from the 70s and the 80s. It's in 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, maybe even 4 shots. You won't see a replay of that until Xhoxhaj is up and sitting in the corner, by the way. Billam-Smith did a great job, Shane Mugan did a great job, and so did the crowd, by the way. They're entitled to go ballistic now. They've just seen their man struggle for a couple of rounds and come back. Sheb, that was a quality finish,
That was an exceptional finish. He broke him down, down to the body, up to the head, uppercut, and then boom, finish. Brilliant finish.
And he let his hands go, and that's what I like. And listen, he had to get it out. This is a brutal, savage business. I know you stopped the guy the other day. He was out on his feet. Fraser Clark said you should have gone in and finished it. I'd make you right for standing back just for 2 seconds. That 2 seconds is 4 punches that cause a lot of damage. Billam-Smith let those punches go there, and Xhoxhaj, who I had it 2-2 going into that 5th round, I think maybe the Sky people had it 3-1 to Xhoxhaj. We said it was a fight, and it took that kind of finish one. I thought it might be 6 or 7 or 8 rounds, and he might break him down, literally just break him down. No, that was quality.
Look, we said he was a banana skin, and he came and he rocked Chris Billam-Smith, but Chris Billam-Smith was able to compose himself, come back and produce a magnificent finish.
Well, you hear the generous applause from this knowledgeable crowd here at the Bournemouth International Centre because Armend Xhoxhaj is up on his feet and walking around under his own steam. He's retreated to the blue corner on the near side of the ring to our commentary position. He's being tended to by his own team now, and that is why the fans just increasing their decibel level a little bit in celebration of the victory that Chris Billam-Smith has produced in this, his 2nd consecutive appearance here at the Bournemouth International Centre, his 6th fight in Bournemouth. And as we pointed out before, Steve, he's got designs on packing out the Vitality Stadium, and given the fan base that he's built with this slow, steady climb towards prominence, who would bet against him doing it?
Ron, this is the hardcore 4,000 Billam-Smith fans. They've already sent texts. They're already on Twitter. You want to sell the tickets on the way out of here tonight? Let's talk about how cold and callous our business is. You'd sell 4,000 tickets, and if you set a stall up down on the promenade tomorrow, you'd sell another 20,000. We'll have 30,000 at the Vitality. And knockouts like the one we're seeing now, that's what puts the bums on seats. Let's be basic about our business, shall we? When a man can finish a man like that, people will come out. There's no easy chances at Cruiserweight World Champion. Let's get that absolutely right. It's hard enough to be the best in this country. To be the best in the world is really hard. But they will come out, and that finish, I put it to you, is why they'll come out. Because it's a savage business, Ronald. Let's not mince our words.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Kieran McCann calls a stop to this contest at 1 minute, 52 seconds of the 5th round. Declaring your winner by knockout, Chris Billam-Smith.
So everybody who is able up on their feet here at the Bournemouth International Centre, and now the decibel level going through the roof. Chris Billam-Smith and Armend Xhoxhaj sharing a sporting embrace, and now it's Chris Billam-Smith standing solo in the middle of the boxing ring, both arms raised in victorious fashion. All of these images being captured for posterity. They'll be on the covers of the local papers in weeks to come. And now he's joined by his corner team of trainer Shane McGuigan, strength and conditioning coach Josh Pritchard, and the cutsman Ian Jumbo Johnson. Promoter Ben Shalom joining them as well, because Chris Billam-Smith, the 6'3" cruiserweight, who didn't always use his assets of height and range and reach during this 5-round shootout with Armend Xhoxhaj, eventually found the quality. And we have to emphasize again, Steve, that he found that quality after keeping and maintaining the distance between himself and his marauding game opponents.
Absolutely, and then what happened in previous rounds is that Xhoxhaj found a way to override the jab, override the sensible movement. But what most impressed me there was the quality of that finish. The 3 or 4 punch sequence. You can't teach that, Ronald. You can't teach that, Chef. You know that. You can teach a boxer lots of things, and you can instill wisdom. But that opening, that final sequence, that's not taught. That's inside.
Steve, you were telling us that Caroline Dubois was saying to you that he's the governor of the gym.
Yeah.
During the many times I went to watch him when he was on the come-up, he said to me there are advantages to being the worst in the gym.
Yeah.
Because that was when Carl Frampton, George Groves, Luke Campbell, Lawrence Okoli, all these guys were there, and he felt that he was near the bottom of the totem pole.
And he was.
Earning his stripes, and look at what he's done for him now.
And he was at the bottom, and then he lost. And he was always there, but there was something about him. Forget the calm, the niceness. There's something, we saw that in that finish there, okay? The gentleman's a lovely nickname, it's a lovely little moniker. But we saw that was no gentlemanly finish there. That was a pure boxing heart finish. And you know what? I love it when a guy's in the gym who's a good fighter and they got to struggle. So there was a place once in Detroit called the Kronk. That wasn't bad at sorting out who was the top dog and who was the bottom dog and who was the puppy in the corner. It made good fighters of the worst men. That's what we're seeing in that gym.
It most certainly did. Remember the late great Emmanuel Stewart told us that story, Steve, that when Dennis Andrews turned up at the Kronk, he took the most severe shellacking. And what did he do? He came back the next day. He came back after that, and he ascended to the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship of the world.
And then he was giving those guys that were going there, any pretenders, they found you out in that gym. And that's what real boxing gyms should be like. Okay, I don't want to sound like a man who's living in the past, but boxing gyms should be about boxing, and there's got to be some hard days and nights and times in that gym to get to where Billam-Smith is here.
Well, Billam-Smith is continuing to repeat that victorious pose of both arms held aloft. Richard Riakporhe was just taking it in. Remember, Richard Riakporhe stands about 6'5". He's another towering cruiserweight. Lawrence Okoli, same type of range and reach with that pile-driving right cross that the WBO champ possesses. Isaac Chamberlain's in the house. We've got South Coast boxing royalty in the form of Scott Welch just behind us, and his son, who hopes to be out in the new year. We've got Daniel Dubois here because he was here watching his sister Caroline Dubois, who scored a terrific first round stoppage. Daniel Dubois, the WBA heavyweight champion of the world. We've got boxing royalty in the house here tonight, and they have just witnessed a magnificent contest and a brilliant finish.
I'll throw one more at you. Denzel Bentley's over there. Really just went 12 rounds in a fight that he was meant to get taken out in 5 or 6, and could have nicked it if he'd have had a bit more confidence in the first 3 or 4 rounds against Alan Kanuli. World Championship fight in Las Vegas 2 or 3 weeks ago. I tell you what, for a late night, for a night with no trains, when it's -10, when the sea is freezing. Okay, I added that bit. Okay, I agree, I added that bit. On a late night when the sea's cold and it's icy everywhere, and we're a long way from London, a long way from where some of these fighters come from, and there's no trains. We've created some stuff here tonight, and people have come out. People have represented tonight, and Chris Billam-Smith has delivered for us.
Most certainly has. And Siobhan, 4 fights into your professional career, the man you bested to lift that ABA title, that English amateur title, up at 91 kilograms. How much incentive does this provide to you to keep on grinding, to keep trusting the process, to ascend in the manner that he has done, to get yourself on nights like this?
No, it's brilliant to see, but there can only be one Chris Billam-Smith, and I'm Siobhan Clark, and I'm going to do it my way, but I will get there.
No doubt, but where's your home venue going to be, man? That's what I'm trying to ascertain. That's what I want to find out.
I'm from Kent, so, you know, Gravesend, Dartford area, we'll try and fill out the stadiums there, and it will be magical. It'll be magical.
We look forward to it, man, because again, we know what you've done in the amateur code. We've seen what you're doing in the professional ranks, including that stunning knockout that Steve alluded to, where you showed mercy and didn't take the guy out when he was out on his feet. So again, tremendous incentive provided for Siobhan Clark in this most lonely of sports. But let's make no mistake, this moment, this period belongs to Chris Billam-Smith. Shane McGuigan, he said that he wants the IBF champ Jai Opataya next, or if he's not available, because remember he had some domestic troubles down in his homeland, WBA champ Arslan Gula Mirian. But Shane McGuigan was completely confident that a world title fight would be the next outing for Chris Billam-Smith.
Ben Shalom is a young guy, 29 years of age. He's had his promoter's license since he was 23. He's gate crashed an established scene. Frank Warren, 30-odd years in the business. Eddie Hearn, man and boy, inheriting a business that was already established 25 years before he came on the scene. And their major TV outlets, networks, established. He's gate crashed the scene. He needs that outdoor world title fight. That's part of his 5 or 6 fights that keep him a massive player in British boxing and on Sky.
Well, Chris Billam-Smith ranked number 8 in the world rankings for Boxing News, number 10 on BoxRec, and number 10 with Ring Magazine. That's an idea of the measure of improvement that Chris Billam-Smith has demonstrated, as Steve Bunce pointed out, in a cruiserweight division that is absolutely stacked. And Chris Billam-Smith making that progress, making it, continuing this winning streak, 8 wins in a row now. And that, we said, his last performance where he had to dig deep against Isaac Chamberlain was perhaps a career best display. A different type of display tonight, but showing more facets of his considerable repertoire.
Listen, I completely agree. I mean, that finish there, I didn't know Billam-Smith had a finish like that. I knew he could knock a man out. I knew he could drop a man. I didn't know he could turn it on like that, moving his feet, moving his head, following the man as he went down. I didn't know he had that in him. So that's shown me something tonight. Here's the thing, Ronald. People will be looking at that second round when he got clipped. They might be looking at the third round when he may have got clipped. They might be seeing him and they might be thinking, you know what, if I'm a little bit bigger, if I'm not only a 6 foot or 5 foot 11 inch cruiserweight, I'll fancy it. The world champions will be watching that. Okay, they didn't like the finish, but they'll be thinking, don't wait, I'll get to him. So will plenty of the Brits. Don't work. This is smiling Siobhan Clark here. He's thinking, no, well, I know how to roll my right hand over the top of that. Of course they're thinking that. That's what fighters do.
And again, we pointed out, Steve, that Chris has gone from being an out-and-out, old-school amateur boxer, upright, point-scoring, picking his punches, to this out-and-out attacking fighter. And Shane McGuigan, well, his prognosis was almost spot on tonight, because while the fans loved it and it was thriller minute for us, there must have been times when Shane McGuigan's heart was in his mouth during that terrific two-way affair.
Certainly at the end of the second round, when he goes back at the end of the second round, when he's been hurt. It was the second round, wasn't it, when he got caught? Yeah, second round. When he goes back at the end of that round, Chev, Shane must be looking at him and thinking, I don't need this again, because he can see and he knows how hurt he was. Because I maintain he didn't recover, and the right hand was really at the start of the round, remember?
Well, Chris Billam-Smith has completed his television interview. He's applauding the fans here, and let me tell you, they have all remained in attendance. They are all up out of their seats in this horseshoe of spectators that we are surrounded by. His activity in the ring celebrating is now being projected up onto the massive Jumbotron. What would you say, guys? That's about a 2 or 3 story building, isn't it? That's at the rear of the arena. Chris Billam-Smith just exiting his place of business. We're hoping to get a word with him, with Jordan Clark. And Jordan is with Chris Billam-Smith, and we can get his immediate post-fight thoughts. Jordan, it's over to you.
Chris, 2 very different fights you've delivered now in your hometown on 2 occasions. How do you reflect on that one?
Yeah, you know, I started a bit slow. It wasn't quite switched on, but it's you've got the job done, adapted well, and obviously wanted to give my amazing fans a knockout, and we managed to do that.
Talk us through the finish.
Yeah, I hurt him to the head, took a step back, hit him to the body, hurt him there, and then just rattled off up top, and then he was out on his feet, and he was still standing, so I took that last shot, and thankfully, you know, he's okay.
It was tough early on. You got caught a couple of times.
Yeah, you know, I got caught, but I was comfortable. I was just a little lapse of concentration here and there. I was getting hit with one shot, but he wouldn't hit me with the second. You know, Barry always says that if you get hit with the first shot, don't get hit with the next one. So that's what I was doing. Obviously got caught a couple of times, but, you know, adapted well, made the adjustments needed, and got the job done.
It's a brutal sport. A word on your opponent. You were visibly concerned for him at the end of the fight. You asked the crowd just to calm down a little bit. How pleased to see him up on his feet.
Yeah, you know, this sport isn't about damaging people's health. You know, that can be unfortunately a part of it. But thankfully, you know, it's an entertainment business, and that's what people want to see. But at the end of the day, we want to see everyone go home healthy, and thankfully he did.
A word on the crowd again. Look, it's a week before Christmas. Budgets are tight at the moment. You've filled this place again.
Yeah, they're just so unbelievable. You know, the turnout again. This guy's not well known. He's not a big name. Now he's better known, and he shows what he's capable of. But no one knew him even in the boxing world. Everyone had to research him. So for these fans to come out for me, regardless of who I'm fighting, is just absolutely amazing. And you know, that they deserve a world title fight at Dean Court next year. So let's get it for them.
We were talking about it even before this fight. How realistic is it, Chris?
We're talking about it there. You know, Sky Sports want it, Boxer want it. We want it, and the opponent wants it. So for me, there's no reason that it shouldn't happen. So let's get it on, and let's just create unbelievable memories. And you know, I've got all the domestic belts, British, Commonwealth, European, and now we just need to top it off with that world title.
What would that mean to you when you think back of your journey and to do it potentially in your hometown as well?
Yeah, you know, that would top off an unbelievable stage in my career. Winning all those belts. When I started, you know, no one thought I'd be where I am now. So let's just keep going where people don't think I can get to, and that's probably world champion. So let them believe that, but I know what I can do, and I know me and my team believe in what I can do. So yeah, it would mean absolutely everything.
Well, look, filling the BIC is one thing, filling the Vitality Stadium is another whole story, but you're confident you can do that.
Absolutely, you know, the fans are amazing. We're a week before Christmas against an unknown fighter, you know, and the budget's tight, and we've sold out the BIC. So let's go, let's move on, and let's just get this next one.
Finally, what's next? How do you celebrate this? Off with the family?
Yeah, off to Estonia for a few weeks over Christmas with my wife, little one, and my family. So I'll be running out there, I'll be training out there, you know, we're not done yet.
Chris, congratulations, thank you.
So the post-fight thoughts of Chris Billam-Smith with our ringside reporter tonight, Jordan Clark. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of what he said he's going to be training in Estonia. And if Steve, we think this is cold, my goodness, what's it going to be like up there in Northern Europe, across the water from Helsinki?
I've been to Estonia once at New Year, for New Year, and it was absolutely Baltic, because it's on the Baltic, and that's why we use that expression, it's Baltic. Who goes to Estonia? Who goes to Estonia I did. I suppose I did. So he's doing the same thing. I took my kids, lovely, the water, boiling, of course, in the pool, steam. So it's great fun. That's what he's doing. And as for running, yeah, if he can take some snowshoes and follow a reindeer's tracks, for God's sake. Anyway, Chris Billam-Smith, he's allowed to go where he likes right now, I can assure you.
Most certainly he is the king of Bournemouth tonight. But Steve, what was interesting in what he said, at least what made my ears prick up during his interview with Jordan Clark, is that he said he wasn't quite switched on. And when you've got all this emotion and all this support and everything that comes with the duality of fighting at home, not switched on when he stepped into the ring, and he got caught by a couple of significant shots, overhand and uppercuts.
His downfall, if and when it happens, will be to do with his heart overriding his head. I was talking about that earlier on when I was doing some stuff with Jordan on Radio Solon. Chev and I were talking about it, and we mentioned it a couple of times between rounds. He can get sucked in. Equally, he can get done on that walk to the ring. This is one thing, as you pointed out, Ronald, it's a tiny little walk from the stage. It's a lovely little walk, but it's only 30 metres. At a football stadium, you know, we've watched George Groves come in. We've watched Tyson Fury come in. We've watched Carl Froch come in. I don't need to go on. It's a long walk. And you remember when Josh Warrington came out, okay, against Lee Selby in Leeds, Kaiser Chiefs playing, led by Lucas Radaby. He told me, Josh, he lost his mind. If he hadn't have been there the night before, visualising, doing the walk, in the darkness, on his own, half a dozen times, standing in the ring, breathing it in. If he hadn't have done that, he's absolutely convinced he would have lost his mind that night. So that he needs to, I think Chris needs to think about that. Because Chev, it's all very well walking out here 4,000, and you know it's getting to you. When you're doing it in front of 35,000 that are there for you and loving you, that's tough, brother.
At this point in my career, I haven't experienced that. The closest I've come, I would say, is the European Games. That was quite interesting. There was a lot of folks there. But, you know, I boxed at the O2, boxed on some good cards so far. So I embraced the challenge.
And before we wrap up, Siobhan, what are your closing thoughts on the night we've had here in Bournemouth and the performance produced by your former international teammate, your former fellow finalist up at 91 kilograms in the ABA finals? Give us your overall assessment of the night that you've enjoyed here. We've loved you having on BBC 5 Sports Extra and BBC Sounds and Radio Solent, man. What have you made of it? How have you enjoyed it?
I've fully enjoyed my time. You know, it started off a bit cold down the slippery hill on the coast, but we came inside and slowly this arena got packed, and it got warmer, and we finished with an excellent performance from Chris Billam-Smith.
You know one thing, Ronald? He said to me, we're going to go swimming in the morning in a sea. He's not going to do it, is he? No, you know he's not going to do it, Ronald. You can just tell. He may have a T-shirt on. He's talking tough. He's not going to swim with me tomorrow in that sea, am I? It's just going to be you and I.
It's not the Caribbean Sea, Siobhan, man.
He's already said that. Tropical Siobhan he wants to be.
Literally, I don't know why you guys are going to the Baltic parts of the world.
But Steve, closing thoughts before we sign off from our various platforms on the BBC here on night that we've had and the performance that Chris Billam-Smith has produced, and how close it gets him to that coveted crack at a world title.
I think he gets the world title. I think he gets one of the two men, Opatai or the Frenchman. I think he gets them next year. I think it's outdoors. I think all of that's done. He came through it tonight. Maybe his heart ruled his head a little bit. Plus he got clipped. You know, when that happens, it doesn't matter where your heart or your head is. You get clipped. You don't know where you are. I think he was hurt. He showed calm. He showed patience, and he showed at the end a clinical finish. And what's more, they like him. That's not a fake crowd. That's a real crowd. And they'll come out, Ronald. They might not do 40,000. Let's be sensible. If they do 25,000 and they do 3/4 of the pitch, that'll do me, brother.
Indeed. So what a night we have had here at the Bournemouth International Centre for the second consecutive contest in his career. Chris Billam-Smith has thrilled the crowd. The gentleman produced a performance that was anything but gentlemanly as he scored an emphatic, conclusive fifth-round knockout over the game, but ultimately outgunned Armend Xhoxhaj. It just remains for me, Ronald McIntosh, on behalf of our entire team here, our reporter, Jordan Clark, 5 Live regular Steve Bunce, cruiserweight prospect, Siobhan Clark, and our producer, Patrick Whiteside, to say thank you very much indeed for staying staying with us. Make sure you stay across the BBC website for all of the latest news, updates and information on the sports of boxing. And we'll see you again very soon. From Bournemouth, it's bye for now.